You're listening to Gameday Tarps podcast, coast to coast, with your hosts, Riley, Dakota, Dallas, Dayton, and Wilbs.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Special episode here on the Gameday Tarps podcast. It's just the three of us, me, Riley, and Wilbs, but it's a finals weekend special. And we're going to talk conference finals. We're going to talk Memorial Cup finals, and then we're going to break each of them down, and we're going to get into some draft rankings since that's all settled down, since there's only 2 teams left in the NHL playoffs. And we're going to go through a little bit of some stats, and then just whatever's on our mind. And hope you guys enjoy the episode. Riley's going to take it away from here.
Let's get into it here. I want to start off right away with Wilbs. I want to hear your firsthand experience at the watch party, the emotion. What was going on in your London watch party? Let us know.
I think a lot of people were nervous. Obviously, the emotion of hockey games are like between the players and the fans and stuff like that. I can say my whole thoughts on this game single-handedly before this whole, watch party. But I'm gonna go with the watch party first, and I could say my whole thoughts on spill the game. I just felt emotion for the team, nerves, and the Knights did not come out to play the first 2 periods. They did not show up, did not have a lot of only one shot in 1 period. And you expect that you're going to win a game from that. You have to play a full 60 every game, and you have to be at a regular game pace. And if you're not going to play a full 60, then shit's going to go bad. But the London Knights prevail from a 3-0 deficit. Kasper Halttunen starts out the scoring 3-1. Then the Knights start firing over and over and over again. Tied a game. But to lose in a heartbreaking moment with 30 seconds left, very heartbreaking. Sure, it will be in these boys' hearts, for a long, long time. Really hard pill to swallow, but I think the boys should be really proud on how they played. Obviously, it's hard to get to where you are, especially in a tough tournament like the Memorial Cup, and you're facing the host team. So, and I remember in 2012, the Knights were in a similar position in the finals against the host team and lost in overtime to just a win against Cataracts. So, coming into it, I kind of had that PTSD feeling because it's like, who knows if that happens again, and it did happen again tonight. But there's a lot of what ifs to this game because what if London played a full game? Do you think it would have been a comeback, or do you think London would have just dominated? But before I get into Michael Simpson's performance, because Michael Simpson was incredible. If it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have been that close. Saginaw could have had 5 goals, 6 goals for the amount of shots that they took, with Simpson making incredible saves, showing why he deserves a contract. I think he deserves it. And again, I think London was nervous. You could tell by the turnovers. You could tell that they were stressed. You could tell that there was nerves. And again, it's the Memorial Cup final. It all comes down to who shows up to play. So, like I said, that's all I'm going to say. My thoughts on the game. But the watch party was all emotion, and I can't thank the fans enough because, I was feeling a little bit down as a Knights fan. Obviously, very emotional because, season's over. Memorial Cup was not won. But for all the fans that were hugging me, like telling me it's going to be okay, it's just what the community needs of a fan base. If you're part of a fan base, you're at the game, that's what the community needs. So, again, I shout out the City of London for hosting this type of event because it's moments like this you'll never forget. And this is definitely moments I will definitely not forget.
Awesome. One thing I want to talk about is the Landon Sim hit. I think that needs to be brought up because it was 1-0 fairly early on there, and then there's only a minute and 20 seconds left in the period, and I know you're in a final game and you got to get a piece of Zane Parrott because he's the other team's best player up to this point, and you got to get a piece of him, but you just can't do it the way he did. He unfortunately stuck his elbow out, and you know what? Maybe in the NHL, maybe that's not a 5-minute. Maybe that's only a 2 or a double minor, right? But we're talking about the CHL, where it's much more strict. Any head contact that looks intentional, it's an automatic game misconduct. We know this. But what I want to talk about the most about this is I was really disappointed with Hunter's reaction. I thought that Hunter, like, yes, his job is to stick up for what he believes in, but he was overly emotional. Like, his emotions translated into the team. Like, he almost just needed to go, okay, we lost the guy. Got to kill this penalty, right? Like, he had to refocus his team. Instead of getting his team ready for the penalty kill, he yelled and he yelled and he yelled and he yelled. And then they started playing. They showed him still yelling at the ref. And less than 10 seconds later, when he's still yelling, it's in the back of his net. He did not prepare his team well enough in that moment, which is not very characteristic of who he is as a coach. But I thought that him losing his composure really set that team up in that minute of going from the penalty being called to the next face-off to the penalty kill to Beck's goal. That moment, he just didn't set his team up right. And to me, that's where the game took the biggest shift into Saginaw's favor.
Yeah, I think a lot of these kids, there's gonna be emotion high rise, and I think that's what happened with Sim here. Obviously, not the smartest type play because you're in a Memorial Cup finals. You got to play smart, got to stay disciplined, and again, play a full game. And what I said is like whoever shows up to play is going to win this game. Saginaw showed up for the first two periods. London showed up for the third period. But God knows what would have fucking happened. Let's say if London decided to play a full game, like. London Knights, I don't think I've ever seen them play the way they played today than any other playoff game. They're a hard team to beat. Saginaw figured it out. And, first Memorial Cup, I think, in Saginaw's history. Like, they're the only teams to beat London. That's a very strong feat considering London is a hard team to beat when they are contenders. And anyone who beats this London Knight team should be incredibly proud because it's hard to beat Hunter. And especially in a Memorial Cup when Dale Hunter's been in this position, like three, and this is his fourth time now. So,
And that's why I was so surprised by his reaction. Like you said, like when we did the Mem Cup special, you and me, Wilbs, like just seeing his reaction, like him losing it, I was like, this guy has been to so many gold medal games with the World Juniors. He's been to all these Memorial Cups. He's won so many playoff games. Like, why is he losing it right now? What is the reasoning? Like, all he had to do was look at one highlight and realize that his guy just stuck his elbow out and that we're talking about the CHL. They know the rules. Is it maybe too harsh? Like, yeah, Parrott came back. He played the rest of the game. Like, he wasn't injured the rest of the game, so maybe it should have only been a 2 for elbowing or something like that, right? But here he was just losing his mind. He's been in this situation multiple times in the Memorial Cup final. Why did he lose his cool so easy with only a minute left in the period? I just don't get it.
Like, if you look at the other coach, Lazary, he was calm, collected. He knew what to do. As much as he was saying, like, we got to figure out London because he had no idea how, this was the spotlight where they actually, held London to barely any shots tonight. So props to the defense, props to their coach. And the coach, he did an incredible job this year. Obviously, you're stepping up with pressure on the plate, but coach did an absolutely phenomenal job for Saginaw. And I've been hearing a lot of people say that he's in the top 5 OHL coaches right now. And I think he's making a name for himself. Like, that was a great year by him. Obviously, great playoffs, and then Memorial Cup also incredible, as much as they lost to London to play in the semifinals. But huge props to Coach Laz. Like, he did a really good job with this group.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm pumped for Owen Beck to come to Montreal's camp in the next few weeks, because after that first period and after those 2 goals by Owen Beck, I really think that was like the dagger in this game. It turned out not to be, but I thought it was.
Let's talk about his celly waving to the bench. As much as that, it's a cocky move, man, that was cold. That was cold.
It was.
Well,
you know what that reminded me of Trevor Zegras going by the Russian bench in the World Juniors. That was almost as like cold as that.
Well, I think that he just celebrated to London the way that London has celebrated all year. Like we talked about Wilbs again on our Memorial Cup special. Like, when they scored that Michigan 8-1 goal, they sellied harder than any team I've ever seen. And they did it unapologetically. And I think Owen Beck was just like, all right, let's just give them some of their energy right back to them. And it worked, at least for another period or so. London did get their footing, but it worked.
Yeah, but worse things come to worse. It was a hell of a game, hell of a Memorial Cup final. You couldn't write something better than that. Obviously, a game winner that will be with Josh Bloom for the rest of his life. And if you want to know something funny, London and Josh Bloom were actually talking before he even went to Saginaw. So just imagine if Bloom was a London Knight. But then
Yeah,
again, I
I
think,
mean,
wouldn't he be an overager, I would think?
so he was an overager. Yeah, that's why he was a free agent. So
Okay.
they noted it. So he was playing for Utica in the ECHL or Abbotsford in the AHL to start the year, and then they actually decided to send him back to junior in his eligibility window. But because he was an overager, and the team he was playing for, do you guys remember who it was? North Bay? Is that who
Yeah,
it was?
North Bay. Yep.
Yeah, North Bay. They had their 320-year-olds, so he was technically a free agent in the CHL, which does not happen very often at all, because most guys have their rights owned by their team still. But North Bay relinquished his rights when they filled their 20-year-old spots, so he was free to talk to whoever he wanted. And I think he just took the guaranteed Memorial Cup. Obviously, like, that's not a horrible bet. It's just to say, hey, win or lose in the season, which they lost second round, we can go all the way to the Memorial Cup and try and do something there. And there they are.
Sorry to correct you, but third round, not second round.
Third round of which, sorry? Oh, did I say?
Like you were
Oh, the
saying in the
playoffs.
playoffs, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. The conference final, not the second round. That's right.
But yeah, two hell of a battle, hell of a season. Obviously, going to miss this season a lot, but off season works is going to be interesting to see who signs where, what teams they're going to look like coming forward. But and for the MVP for Mario Cup, for Owen Beck winning it, I don't think it's really a shock. He played a phenomenal role. Obviously, Dayton's probably fired the fuck up right now because Montreal Canadiens prospect, but yeah, really well deserved. Had an incredible Memorial Cup. He's been here before, so it's not really a surprise. And he just lit it up when Saginaw needed most. That's what Saginaw needed to do. All their pieces to step up if they wanted to win. I don't think anyone expected them to go the way that they went, but Owen Beck was a huge piece in that run and very well deserved.
Yeah, one stat I saw in the game too, which unfortunately for London did end. So it was the most consecutive Memorial Cup wins. And I wanted Dally to be on here because it was an awesome moment that I saw. Like, the shared lead in CHL history is Kamloops Blazers and Windsor Spitfires. They both had in their history, not current because Kamloops lost games last year, but they had 12 consecutive Memorial Cup victories in a row. So that was incredible to see. London was third, which is why they were mentioning it. They had 7. So unfortunately, London's streak has ended at 7, but still incredible to win 7 straight games in the Memorial Cup.
Yeah,
Either way.
because of how tough it is to win in that tournament. It's like the Knights have been here so much, and they were the favorites for a reason because of the experience. But like I said, unbelievable storyline, and I think London has a good chance to run it back. They have a couple of players that could return and could make another run for it, but it all comes down to what Hunter sees and what he wants to do. Because basically, when you see trade deadline happening, you know what teams are going to do. And Saginaw went all out. Saginaw's probably going to be on a downfall now because all these guys are going to be gone now. So we'll see what happens to Saginaw, but traded a lot away for some good players and ended up being worth it because Memorial Cup is that main goal, and they got it.
Yeah, they brought
Fair
in
enough.
Jorian Donovan. They brought in Dionisio. They brought in Owen Beck. It worked.
All right. Well, it was a great season all the way around in the CHL. Lots of news. Next year, I think we'll be a lot more heavy in the CHL, especially with you boys coming on. We'll be hitting that fact a lot more. This year, we were very NHL focused. We'll be very CHL focused come next year, which is going to help alongside NHL and all other tournaments that are going on. But let's jump to the NHL now. Eastern Conference champs last night. We had the Florida Panthers, and they did not touch the trophy. What are your thoughts on Florida?
Well, they have been in this position before. Obviously, going to the Stanley Cup final once again after losing, and they're gonna have fire under their asses this year because they're going to want to win this championship. Def Power on Florida has been good. Forsling, Verhage, Reinhardt, Sam Bennett had an absolute rip that game, and
Yep.
Bob's been pretty good too. So it's gonna be nice to see how Florida's going to do in this Stanley Cup final.
Did you guys see Barkov's media availability after the game? And they were like,
I didn't know.
oh, no, he said something about touching the trophy because they didn't touch it this year, but he touched it last year. So one of the reporters asked him, "Oh, did your coach tell you not to touch the trophy?" And he said, "Yeah, he told me last year too." And then the guy was like, "Oh, does that mean you didn't listen to him?" And he just started laughing. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's actually pretty funny."
Paul
That
Maurice
is,
would
yeah.
probably joke around saying, "Oh, you're getting benched now," just like he did with
Yeah.
Ekblad.
He did make a joke. I forget what he said, but I heard Maurice make a joke about it. I forget what he said, but he did make
Yeah.
a joke about it because the reporter
I
asked.
feel like Maurice is like really lightened up since leaving Winnipeg.
Oh yeah, Winnipeg.
Fucking
I
stud.
mean, come on. You're living in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You're on a team that's got all this potential and can't do anything. You got a team that obviously had locker room issues left, right, and center that couldn't be fixed. And like you said, he was only coming back to the NHL if it was a perfect situation. I mean, what a better situation than getting a call to Miami, Florida, living there 365 days a year, getting to coach one of the best teams in hockey coming up, having a general manager who's been aggressive in acquiring some of the best talent in the NHL. Like, what a situation. And I think for him, it's been perfect. And I think, yeah, like you said, it's allowed him to actually be like, oh, this is fun. Like, this is actually a fun time.
I think he loves
It's funny. It's funny how you think about the trade that happened for Florida to get Matthew Tkachuk, and then obviously Huberdeau going to Calgary and Uyghur was that? I think that's what the trade was, and Florida's proving that they won that trade, and it's crazy to see because Huberdeau was such a good force on that team, and obviously Uyghur too, but with Kachuk coming in, like everyone thought Calgary won that trade, but it's really aging well now because now they're back to Florida's back to the Stanley Cup Finals once again. Kachuk, of course, being funny during the season with the series with the mouth guard piece from I don't know what player it was. I can't really remember.
It was
Kreider. Yeah, it was fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Kreider.
Oh, I know you do because of
I
the
used to
fucking
love
Spice
him.
situation.
When he came into the league straight out of college, he was pretty sick. I liked following him, but yeah, as it's gone on, I don't really care. One thing I did want to note though, which is an awesome stat, in the 2020 decade, there has not been a team in the Eastern Conference to come out of any other state but Florida yet. We have done 5 Stanley Cups, and it has been Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Florida, and Florida. The East has been owned by the state of Florida.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting if you
Well,
think about it. The Sunrise state of hockey right now.
Yep.
That's actually a pretty crazy fact.
It's the first time ever. It would be 5 years, but it's 4 years that one state has played hockey in June 4 years in a row. That hasn't happened before. It would have happened with if it wasn't for the COVID year, with Tampa being in the bubble, but it's happened every year since then. That there's been hockey in June in Florida for 4 years straight. It hasn't happened in any other state or province in the NHL.
That's wild. That's wild to think of. Because you have so many crazy good hockey cities in the East Coast.
Oh, yeah. And what's crazy, too, is like New York. You have the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Sabres, and the Devils. And they didn't somehow
the Hurricanes,
get 4 years in a row.
Hurricanes and the Bruins, too. Like, man.
All right there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
All right, let's jump over to the West. Edmonton Oilers also did not touch the trophy after winning it. What are our thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers getting through the Dallas Stars?
It was a lot of people favor the Dallas Stars in this series, but again, it's the Stars in depth that shine through once again for the Oilers. Connor McDavid with a nasty Gino tonight, and seeing all these players that you can see playing so well now, Zach Hyman, man oh man, it's just like
Mhm.
whenever you leave the Leafs, you're fucking going off. Like Hyman was going off with the Oilers this year. A lot of people are saying he's overrated. I don't really think so. I think he's just rated the same as usual. Great player, great speed. I knew he was going to break out somewhere, and Oilers were exactly the team. And then obviously, got to bring up my Knights alum, Evan fucking Bouchard. I can't remember what the crazy stat is, but he's been absolutely on a tear with these Oilers right now. So
He
it's
has like
looking great.
26 points or something.
Yeah,
26, I think.
which is
Yeah.
nuts.
One thing I saw too, just quick, you can go right after this, Dayton, with Steve Dangle, Nolan Leafs super fan. Someone tweeted at him one of the funniest things I've ever seen. They tweeted, "Hey Steve, how mad are you that Cody Ceci might win a Stanley Cup for the Leafs?"
That's
And
hilarious.
he said that wasn't even the Oiler he's maddest about. And he said maybe not even the second, but the point was like obviously just making fun that like Cody Ceci might win a cup before the Leafs.
Oh,
Just like
nice.
fucking
He's
Jack
just-
Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the guy that we should probably talk about the most here is Corey Perry,
Oh,
because
God, yeah.
he's the first player in Stanley Cup final history to make the final with 5 different franchises. And he's also played in 4 out of the 5 Stanley Cup finals in the 2020 decade with Montreal, Dallas, Tampa. He did not play last year because he was still with Tampa, and then Edmonton. And I do want to throw this in there. Every year he goes to the Stanley Cup final, it's his first year with this team because he was a rookie with Anaheim when they won in his first year. Never made it back until his first year with Montreal. Then his first year with Dallas right after. Then his first year with Tampa. And now his first year with Edmonton. He does not make it if it's not his first year. His second year with Tampa, first round elimination. Every year since he won as a rookie, didn't make it to the didn't win a Stanley Cup again with Anaheim. Like, just crazy statistics on his career.
The Corey Perry curse. He's learning from Drake.
Exactly.
He's learning from Drake.
I agree with Wilbs, to be honest. There's a Corey Perry curse, and it's not going to help
It
the
very well
Oilers.
could be.
It's not going to help them.
I think
No.
I think Florida has got this series. I mean, I feel like Skinner has to hold the fort. Bobrovsky's an incredible goaltender. Like, I don't know. I want the Oilers to win, but I just have that gut feeling that Florida's going to take this series.
Florida
I
has
have
the
that
better
gut feeling
goalie
too.
by far.
Here's
Yep.
the thing. 2 things. The Oilers have not played a team that wants to beat you up as bad as Florida does. Like, okay, I'm a Tampa fan, all right? So you had Florida, Tampa. Florida ran them over, right? They were just way more prepared, way more physical, everything. They got to the net more. They screened Vasilevsky more. Then they played the Bruins, and that was a hard-hitting, physical atrophy team that they had to verse. And then they played the Hurricanes, super defensive, well-structured, hard team to play against. And now it kind of feels like they're going back to playing the same type of team that Tampa is, that they ran over. Skilled, didn't fight back much, like all this. It just seems like they're going to an easier matchup opponent for them than the Bruins and the Hurricanes both were. And I just don't know how much of a fight Edmonton can put up. Like, how many pucks can Evan Bouchard go get with the Kachuk and Bennett line barreling in on him every time? How many times are McDavid and Draisaitl going to be stopped by Forsling or Ekblad? Right? Like, these things add up. And I personally, I'm with you both. Like, it just feels like Florida's going to win. But who knows? We have to wait and see. This other insane stat that we have here is that the top 4 picks from the 2014 NHL draft are all going to be playing in this series. I'd never even put this together before I saw this, but Ekblad at number 1, Sam Reinhart at number 2, Leon Draisaitl number 3, and Sam Bennett number 4. All of them will be in the Stanley Cup final. I don't know if that's happened before. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, but that's just crazy. And then now, last year we had from 2015 Jack Eichel. Now we finally have Connor McDavid. It's interesting. And Connor McDavid, too, 30 points. He's not even in the final yet. Like, he is on an absolute tear. First player to 30 points in the playoffs.
And he's probably gonna try as hard as he can, because like the hardware that he hasn't won yet, like you saw how dominant he was in the OHL. Never got a chance to crack the Memorial Cup at all. Obviously, losing to Oshawa, getting upset by them. But I think Connor McDavid, like again, he's gonna be the big piece to watch for the Oilers if they want to win this series. Connor McDavid is the star. Draisaitl also. Like those will be two guys to watch, and they're gonna have to show up. If they can play in the same game, because McDavid's a huge factor in this Oilers run, there's no doubt about it. And we've seen all these stars already win their cups. Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, Patrick Kane, Steven Stamkos, all those guys. But we have not seen the star of Connor McDavid win a Stanley Cup. So that might light his fire on his ass a little bit, but still got to wait and see how these games turn out for to actually know who's going to win this cup.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of superstars that have won the Stanley Cup, and there's a lot of superstars that haven't won the Stanley Cup. But of the mega stars in the NHL, he's the only one left, him and Draisaitl, who have not won a Stanley Cup. You're talking, Crosby, Ovechkin, McKinnon, Stamkos, like that breadth of guys have all won cups now. And now that McDavid is like the only one left, not included in that.
But they don't have a Bobrovsky.
And that will be a big. But here's the thing. Here's the weirdest thing about Bobrovsky is just like this. He can be old Bob, just like that.
Turn it off.
Do I think he will? Probably not. But it's happened. You've seen it happen with Bob, where all of a sudden he's just boom. Oh, that's right. He's a 35-year-old goaltender. All of a sudden, right? Like here it comes. So who knows? But again, it's another series, and he's older, and he's got to survive it. But I think that the Panthers they're built for it. They're ready. They have everything. They're not really injured at all. They're talking about McDavid maybe being injured. How do you think a McDavid injury is going to fare against the Florida Panthers? They are just going to run them over.
The only place I can see the Edmonton Oilers getting past Bobrovsky is if they make a move east to west on the power play, because that'll hurt them.
They have to. They have to get the puck moving on
east to west.
All right. Last little note on it is this year's Stanley Cup final between the Oilers and Panthers will be the furthest between two cities in NHL history. So that'll be cool, which is why the schedule is so broken up the way it is. 3 days in between every city travel day. So 2 days like normal in between games, and then 3 days in between flight travel time, because it makes sense. You're traveling for 5 hours. You can't play the next day. You gotta have a day off after the game, travel the next day, then the day off, and then the game, which makes complete sense to me. What would have sucked if it was Dallas versus Florida, because it's like this far away. Dallas here, Florida here, right? Like then having those days in between would have been like, that sucks. But at least we got it the way that it makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people online actually like almost like not shitting on it, but like just complaining about the schedule a lot. But it makes sense why they did it.
I've seen people too, which doesn't make sense to me. They're like, why don't we just start the season October 1st, and then we'd be done by mid-June and it's all over with. But here's the thing. We get to October, and hockey fans can't wait for hockey, right? So why is everyone complaining that we get hockey till almost July? What is the complaint here? Like,
I don't know. No idea.
This is sick. We're going to be going, it's going to be 1 week, and then we're going to have, Canada Day long weekend up here.
Yeah.
Like, what a time to have hockey just before actual summer kickoff up here in Canada, or 4th of July weekend in America, whichever way you want to spin it. Like, what a time for these guys. Like, they can win the Stanley Cup and then have a Stanley Cup party on Canada Day or 4th of July weekend. Like, or 4th of July weekend. It's whichever one falls on what day. Like, either way, you can have an awesome time centered around your cup party based on these holidays. Like, what's wrong with this?
I don't know why people are complaining.
The only thing I did see, was that they were talking about how the management and staff will have to miss the parade because the draft is on June 28th. But it's like, then just don't make your parade the weekend of the draft.
Yeah.
Like, make it work another day. Like, what are we crying about here? Or it's like, okay, you do make it the day of the draft. Like, I don't know, the draft doesn't start till 5 p.m.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I just say don't put it on the same day.
Yeah, just don't. They wouldn't do that to their staff. They would say, hey, due to the NHL draft, we are going to do this next weekend. Boom, 4th of July weekend for Florida. Just like that. Like,
yeah.
It makes complete sense to me, but people just don't problem solve. They're just like, oh, this is so lame. What about all the people? It's like, they're not going to throw a party without their general manager. Like, they won't do it.
No way.
So let's get into some who is better. And this is about specific things that these teams have for them. So, Edmonton or Florida, who has the better top 6 forward group?
Man, that's tough. That's tough because
That is tough.
You have McDavid and Draisaitl in Edmonton, which is like really good. But then you have like Kachuk, Verhage,
Barkov,
guys like that, and they really have a well balanced top 6. Whereas McDavid and Draisaitl are like really heavy favorites.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
That is tough.
For me, I'm gonna say Edmonton just because the two leading scorers in the NHL are on there. If sometimes they put Nugent Hopkins in the top 6, so that would be 3 of the top 4 leading scorers. Then you have Zach Hyman, who was leading in goals for a little while.
50+ goal scorers in the regular season.
Exactly. And then you have just a couple guys filling in on other spots. So I think that just based on statistics right now, you have to go with that.
Yeah.
But that's not a slight at all. Like, we're talking, it's just barely better. If you're talking about the whole well-roundedness of Florida's top 6, as a unit, they may be better. But in these playoffs, we're talking about all the leading point getters and leading goal scorers. And I just think you have to give them that slight edge for that.
Yep.
But by no means does that mean that they're going to win.
Oh, who knows? That's why it takes 7 games.
Yeah, but I definitely agree. Like, their top, like, again, McDavid and Draisaitl, they have been huge. And then Nuge, and then obviously Hyman. Like, we can't go wrong there. As much as, Florida has those really good depth guys, and they have been stepping up too. Just, I don't see a top 6 beating the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm going Oilers. Wilbs going Oilers. Who you going, Dayton?
I mean, I guess, yeah, you kind of got to go Oilers on this one.
Fair enough. All right, let's go with the bottom 6 forward group. Now, this one, I don't think is even a question.
Nope.
This goes to the Panthers.
Yep.
They are by far the deeper team here, no question.
Oh man, yeah, you got like Lou Osterreinen, Nico Mikkola, like guys like that
Lundell.
who are just like big bodies on Lundell, on your back, on your bottom 6 that are just like big body forwards, grinders. Oh god, yeah.
Ryan Lomberg just absolutely tanks everyone when he's in the lineup. Like Kyle Okposo's in their bottom 6.
Yeah.
Like,
where's Tarasenko? Is he in their top 6?
Yeah, no, he's has he been playing with he's been playing with Barkov and Ryan.
Yeah, he's top 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
He just hasn't really been that noticeable, really.
Yeah, but he did score that big goal to clinch them going through. But again, you're right. Like, he hasn't done much other than that. Okay, so Florida all the way around. Not even a question. Because we're talking about like Connor Brown, who is doing better, but he's like tied his season point total in the playoffs now too. Like he's not necessarily exceeding. Janmark hasn't done much. Derek Ryan hasn't done much. Like they're lackluster. Again, if you put Nuge in the bottom six on that center on the third line, you might get a little bit of a boost. But guys like Dylan Holloway, they've been doing better. They need to step up. So, it goes to Florida for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next up, top 4 defensive group. Which team leads this stat?
Some people would say Edmonton.
Some people are not me.
Yeah, I'd say Florida.
Gotta be honest. Florida's top 4. We're talking Montour, Ekblad, why can't I think of his name now? Forsling, and who does Forsling play with? Who am I blank? Oh no, Forsling plays with Montour, I think.
Doesn't Forsling play with Ekblad, I think, and Montour plays with why am I blanking on his name?
I know, same thing. Hold up, I'll look. I know.
Montour to Toronto, baby, next year. Make it happen. It's not gonna happen.
He's a lefty.
No
I know he's a lefty. I'm just blanking on his name.
Ekman Larson.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where he is now. That's interesting. He's been a businessman.
Yeah, the Canucks traded him there last year to get rid of his cap hit. And look at Florida. They took him, and he's playing in the final now. But yeah, I think we're talking about Ekman Larson, who won a Norris, I believe he won one, and who has been regarded as one of the best defenders in the NHL for like a decade. Ekblad, who's coming into his own. Montour, who was Florida's best player last playoffs, and who really hasn't been as good this year, but he's been steady. And then, Forsling. There we go. I keep thinking Lundell every time I want to say Forsling, but Gustav Forsling has arguably been the best defender in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Period.
Agreed.
And Evan Bouchard has 26 points, but that's how good he's doing.
And Forsling, also my mistake. I said Nico Mikkola was a bottom 6 forward. He's a defenseman. I'm an idiot.
Yes, that's okay.
And Gustav Forsling, I'm pretty sure he was second all season in plus minus. So that's a pretty good stat.
Yeah, there's no question that Florida wins with against Edmonton's here.
Like outside of Bouchard, who is having an otherworldly playoffs, there's no knocking him. Darnell Nurse has been
Cody CC. It's the Cody CC effect, baby.
Like, I don't even know who's in their top 4. Like, other than Bouchard and Ekholm.
Nurse.
And then Nurse. And who's Nurse playing with? CC? Is he playing with CC?
I have no idea.
Or there's Broberg.
Brett Kulak.
He's been scratched.
Former Hab.
So, I mean, look at that. We just broke down their team. Like, they're relying on Broberg, Brett Kulak, Vincent Desharnais potentially, and Cody CC.
Isn't he injured right now? Desharnais?
No, they just scratched him to put Broberg in.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they were surprised because he was leading the NHL in penalty kill minutes and was on the NHL's best penalty kill, but they've scratched him in favor of Broberg. Okay, so Florida it is again.
Oh, yeah, gotta be.
Okay, Florida 2-1 so far. And I think that trend's just going to continue because up next is who has the better starting goaltender.
Yep, Bobby. Skinner's too young. I don't think I can see him holding the fort. I just don't see it. He's had some. He has to stay consistent, but I haven't seen him really be consistent all playoffs long. So, matter of time before the Stanley Cup final, he's gonna feel the pressure a little bit. Bobby, I feel like he's gonna be used to this. I don't know, just that gut feeling.
Yeah, I think I gotta go Bob on this one.
All right, so Bob all the way around. Okay, next thing up. Now to special teams. Who has the better power play?
I mean, you
Which,
can't go wrong with the Oilers here. Like, you got
yeah,
McDavid on the special teams. You got Draisaitl, obviously. I think Bouchard has been playing, and Hyman, Nuge. Like, they have a stacked power play. You do not want to take a penalty against this Oilers team because it's just going to haunt you. McDavid, usually when he has time and lane and space with the puck, it's going to go in the net. So you can't go wrong with Edmonton for their special teams.
true. I think that, yeah, they're number one. They're like setting records for their percentage. Like, gotta be that.
I think it's definitely Edmonton here, but I do want to mention like just how close I think it is, because to be honest, if you take one piece away from the Edmonton power play, it becomes just as good as this Florida power play with like Matthew Tkachuk, Brandon Montour, Carter Verhaeghe. Carter Verhaeghe in the bumper spot has been amazing, and Sam Reinhart, a 50-goal scorer. But I will say the Edmonton power play is definitely way better with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl firing on all cylinders.
Let me see here. So power play percentage, Oilers are at 37.3, and the Panthers are only at 23.3.
Oh, so
Yeah,
they're
So it's
big
10%
difference. Big difference in that.
almost a 15% dip on that. So
Easy
the Oilers
choice.
do win it, but they could absolutely, Florida, they could come alive. Like, it's about 7 games. It's about who does better in 7 games now, and you never know what can happen there. But so obviously we all vote Oilers on that one. But let's jump the script. Let's talk penalty kill percentage. So I will give you the stat here, and then we can break it down because I don't know what it's going to be. All right, so the Edmonton Oilers are number 1 in the playoffs at 93.9%, but the Florida Panthers are number 2 in the NHL playoffs with 88.2%. So this is the battle of the best penalty kills.
Like, look how close the stat totals are, except for a power play. But, like, other than that, it's going to be a close bout between these two clubs. It's going to be a fun series. I cannot wait for it. Florida's never won a cup. Oilers haven't won since when Gretzky was around,
90.
I believe. So
1990, yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see because we haven't seen these clubs win a cup in a long time.
And
If you take it and like, and if you look at it and see like who you'd rather put on the ice during a power play, I think I'd have to go with Florida's here just because they have one of the best defensive forwards in the league in Barkov, and then a huge, like, big stick. Like, I think Mikola's 6'5", 6'6".
yeah, he's
Always
huge.
helps to have like a big. It always helps to have a big defenseman like Victor Hedman in Tampa.
Yep.
And Kulikov on the back end too. So I think I might have to go Florida for the penalty kill.
You know, I'm going to pick Florida too. Here's what I'm looking at, all right? So also for power play wise, and this is also because of Edmonton's good power play versus Florida's not as good power play. But the Panthers have played against teams, Rangers 84.2% penalty kill, Hurricanes 73.3% penalty kill, and the Lightning 76.9% penalty kill. So they have gone up against the 5th, 7th, and 8th best penalty kills in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Oilers have only gone up against where's the first team? The Canucks are 6th with 81%. And then who did they play last? Why am I forgetting? The Stars. So they are. The Stars only have a 67.6% penalty kill. And then the Kings have the worst penalty kill in the playoffs at 55%. So the power play, yes, has been great for the Oilers, but they have gone up against a team that could not figure them out in LA, letting in 50% of their goals. Dallas Stars, who are letting in a third of every power play chance. And then the Canucks, who are only letting in a fifth of every power play chance. But the Panthers have been battling against basically 3 teams that are only letting in a fifth of every power play chance. when you look at their stats.
The
Like,
Panthers are actually, first off, I do want to just say this. How did you forget the Stars were the last team they played? They just
I know, man. I just blanked it. Right there. I was like, who the heck did they just play?
But yeah, no. You got to give credit where credit's due for sure.
So yeah, to me, I'm going Panthers. I'm going that the Panthers penalty kill is going to be more important than the Oilers, because the Oilers, I think, are going to get more power plays because of their speed. They're going to have more opportunities, more looks, and the Panthers are going to have to come up big on those opportunities to stop them.
100%.
Yep.
All right, boys, let's finish this off real quick here. We'll do two more things here. I'm going to throw in a battle of the tarps at the end, just
sweet.
between these two teams.
Word.
Let's do it. Okay, so the draft order has started to take shape. We obviously know how the draft lottery went, but as for the playoff teams, we now have Washington at 17, Chicago at 18 via their trade with the New York Islanders that they just made. Vegas at 19, New York Islanders via Chicago, who they, again, just did that trade. That pick is originally via Tampa Bay for Brandon Hagel. And then Los Angeles Kings 21, Predators 22, Maple Leafs 23, Avalanche 24, Ottawa Senators via the Bruins at 25, Canadiens via the Jets at 26, Carolina Hurricanes 27, Flames via the Canucks at 28, Stars 29, and Rangers 30. And it will be the winner of the Stanley Cup getting 32 and the loser of the Stanley Cup getting 31. So we do know how the draft is going to shake out. 80%, 99%, whatever you want to call it. It's a high percentage. So we do know. All right. Well, let's finish it up here, boys. I threw this in last second. Let's do a fun battle of the tarps here. We always do battle of the tarps. We usually put teams in a randomizer, but me and Wilbs did a great one with our Memorial Cup special where we just did the 4 teams in the Memorial Cup. So let's do the 2 Stanley Cup final
I liked
teams.
how you did the older jerseys too.
Yes, we did. And we can do that too. We all know what Florida's old jersey looks like. We all know what Edmonton's old jersey looks. So why don't we let's do the oil drop dark blue for the Oilers, and let's do the Panthers old dark blue with the Panther
talking
coming
like
out.
the oil drop? Like just the oil drop, or just like
Where yeah, it's like the comet looking.
Yeah,
oil
the
drop.
comet looking thingy.
Yeah,
with the ratchet or like the cogwheel looking.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's do
I'm
that.
not a fan
Oilers.
of that jersey at all.
We'll do the rest. We'll do that Oilers versus the Panthers, with just their original, what they had for years, like the Pavel Bure Panthers, the Roberto Luongo Panthers, that era. So, all right, let's break it down. Who's doing what here? You guys can start.
Okay, I'm gonna start off with talk about the Florida classic jerseys. Probably one of the sickest tarps that Florida Panthers had. A very classic jersey. Absolutely love the colors on it, and obviously with the logo with the Panther, can't go wrong with how dope the Panther looks on that jersey. Like, it's all about emphasizing the logo, and I think the jersey very suits well with the classic jersey that they had back in the day. Obviously, I would prefer back in the day more than the jerseys now, but the throwback one was pretty nice.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to the Edmonton one, since Wilbs did the Florida one. Man, I hate this jersey. There's just nothing to like about it. There's just really nothing to like about it. It's blue. It's got a white stripe here and a white stripe here. I'm sure Riley will throw a beautiful picture of it up on screen.
Absolutely.
But,
yeah.
Let me tell you, folks, the Edmonton Oilers are known for just having terrible jerseys, in my opinion. So I gotta go with the Panthers jersey on this one.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
It's plain. It's plain to me.
Growing up, I don't know why, no reason whatsoever, but I thought the Florida Panthers had the ugliest jerseys in the National Hockey League. I thought that the yellow Panther totally contradicted the reddish orange, the dark blue, and then the random yellow trim or white trim, whichever they were doing that year. I just hated their jerseys. Like, I wasn't even a Tampa fan. at this point. Like my entire childhood, I hated the Florida Panthers and everything about them. So again, don't know why, but I have to go with Oilers here because I just had such a hate for the Panthers as a kid. And I just think, I picked the Comet honestly because I think that's one of their better logo ideas. Maybe they didn't really hit on the jersey, but I thought that the oil drop in like the Comet style or whatever you want to call it, like was a neat idea that they just didn't really capitalize on. Now this year's oil drop jersey I thought was fantastic with their outdoor game that me and my brother in Dakota had the privilege to go to. That was a very cool jersey with the way that they did that drop, but not so much with what they did the jersey around this cool logo. But I'm going to go Oilers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Florida, and I'm just looking here, and I see the reverse retro, and it's like completely opposite of like their old jersey. And I think if they would have used the gold in the reverse retro, like way back, instead of using like that mustard yellow that you said you didn't think went well, I think it would have looked way better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still gotta go Florida.
Yeah, I think I gotta go Florida as well.
Now, I will say this about Florida. Their baby blue jerseys that they had, some of the best jerseys I've ever seen. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of just like, the Pavel, Bure, the Roberto Luongo era, I just hated them. I hated everything about them, and I still don't know why to this day. I just hated them so much. Like, I'd get a hockey card of a Florida Panther player, and I would literally just like put it in a box and never look at it. I hated them that much. I'd just be like, oh, Pavel Bure, trash. Like, just because of the jersey. Like, nothing to do with the player.
No,
So, irrational.
I used to like teams when I was younger solely because of the jerseys. I was like,
Of course,
that's a nice jersey. I like that team. I don't know who they are.
I got lucky because I started liking Tampa when they were still their black and whites. And then just a couple years later, they switched to the blue and whites. And I was like, oh, thank God. They have nice jerseys now. Like, they're simple, but they're nice. Their old ones were just clunky and ugly. But the way that they use the black, blue, and white now is fantastic.
I like their all black jersey.
Yes, I have one of those.
Yep,
I'll
that's
wear
sick.
it in a pot. Yeah, I love it. I have two, actually. I was given two as gifts.
Bassy needs all black pads for that.
He has them, yeah.
Oh, he does?
When they wear it. He goes blackout. Black helmet, black gloves, black pads, everything.
Okay.
Black stick. Yeah, he goes full blackout with the team. So, either way, gents, I think that's it for our finals weekend special. Thank you, boys, for popping on such short notice just after the games. I hope you guys have a great night. I just want to thank everyone for watching this, for listening. Follow us, as always, at Gameday Tarps. Follow Dayton at Blue Nose Hockey on TikTok and Wilbs at Wilbs Puck on TikTok. And once again, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you next time.